What's up, dogs? You're listening to John Graham, I apologize in advance, and you're listening to the director's commentary on Arby and the Chief Season 6, Episode 12, called Severance. This is the second last episode of the season, and much earlier in the development of the season's outline, for some reason I had a feeling that I'd have a lot of trouble with this episode in particular, trying to tie up the plots and, pacing it correctly. And it ended up being, in my opinion, one of the best episodes I've ever produced. One of the few that I've actually felt decent about after I finished it. As I've described in my behind-the-scenes thingy, I usually don't. That said, you might be able to imagine how I feel about the first few seasons. Sometimes I watch them all over again to refresh my memory regarding what the essence of the show is, and they make me want to vomit my balls and stomp on them. I'll be assuming that everybody willing to risk their eardrums against my macheteing monotone has seen the episode already, so there's going to be a few spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen it yet, I suggest you check it out, or I'll come to your house and beat you up. In the first scene, we are introduced to Justin, who we learn at the episode's end is working with Trent Donovic, the primary antagonist of Season 5, and this season as well, essentially, providing him with the weapon hacks depicted throughout the season and the recently introduced permanent denial of service attack, which threatens to disable the network in 15 minutes. Here's a fun fact. When I was outlining the season during pre-production, I thought Trent's involvement would be a cool way of reaching into the past to settle some unfinished business and give the season a satisfying sense of closure, but as the production of the episodes went along, I started to question more and more whether it was actually cool or not, especially when people started predicting it like 5 episodes in. I was like, fuck. And at that point, I had invested so much into the season already that it was too late to make any significant changes to the plot without fucking it up and down and all around. I was afraid it would be received similar to one of the last episodes of Season 6 of Dexter, where you find out that the one guy is a hallucination and you're just like, wow, who saw that coming? Oh yeah, everybody, 8 episodes ago. I still love Dexter, but that was kind of annoying. So in response to that concern I had, I made sure to have that scene at the very beginning in which the hack developer is introduced in order to soften the potential blow as much as possible. I'm a big believer in the importance of structure, and I believe there's something satisfying enough about the beginning of something connecting with the end in a significant way that it has the potential to make a far-fetched or perhaps underwhelming event be acceptable to the audience. For example, I personally would probably be like, kind of obvious, but at least this event was introduced early and not shoehorned in. I think there's a lot of things you can get away with if everything is ordered and weaved properly. Not to mention that the belief of the audience is suspended enough as it is, with the plot holes and the little logical inconsistencies all over the place. It's like the Swiss cheese of web shows. However, I do take comfort in the fact that I tried my best on the scripts with the knowledge I had at the times when I wrote them. I figured the plot of this season was the best way to achieve the comedy of the old seasons while at the same time taking full advantage of everything that the game has to offer. Some may argue that that's not what the show should be about, like the action aspect of it. But the show is often classified as a machinima, meaning at least half of it ought to be in-game content. And I don't think anybody can argue that Reach is not an action game. It obviously is. With that said, I believe I'm taking the show more or less in the right direction. And it's a style I really enjoy writing in, to be honest, so there you go. During the editing, I I done goofed and mixed up the voiceovers of Kylie's two friends, whom she recruits as bodyguards. I'm not sure how noticeable it was to everybody, but it sticks out to me like a sore thumb. I have no idea why it took me so long to spot it. The way the characters' shots are cut in their first conversation establishes which voice belongs to whom, and then not too long after that, in the same sequence even, their shots are cut in a different way that switches the voiceovers of the characters in the viewer's head. Not a huge deal, but really annoying for me, especially considering how hard I worked on this one, just to have it ever so slightly tainted with some stupid bullshit I overlooked. Another example of setup and payoff would be the revealing of Kylie's personal motivations behind the network attack. She's doing it not only because she's happy to see it go down because it's such a hate-filled social medium overflowing with trolls and fucking idiots, but she's also doing it for a certain monetary sum with the intention of using it to get away from her abusive father with whom she still lives. So when Master Chief eventually deceives her with a hologram and gets the jump on her, it's bittersweet and a little more interesting to watch because you know that she's been banned, she won't get her money, and she can't escape from her abusive environment, which is, with little doubt, what transformed her into the aggressive, manipulative, and cynical person that she is. And another example I ought to mention is the fact that Master Chief uses a hologram to deceive Kylie. This is a payoff that is set up when the toys are talking in Boneyard about armor abilities, and Chief reveals unapologetically that he believes that the hologram ability is strictly for quote-unquote faggots. Again, I apologize to anybody who's offended by my liberal use of the word faggot as well as many other offensive terms, but as I've said on numerous occasions on my blog and in videos and stuff, my only objective is to be authentic to the environment in which the show's characters are immersed. And although it's heightened reality for dramatic and comedic purposes, I think the show does paint a fairly accurate picture of the world of online gaming, and I believe it's important to have an understanding of what goes on within anonymous online communities and how they work, how people behave, and so on. It's certainly something that fascinates the hell out of me, and I think it's a world that I understand fairly well. It's absolutely bursting with conflict, so by definition it's absolutely perfect for basing a series in that is partially a drama. I like to think of comedy and drama as if they were a waveform, if you can make any sense out of that. Like the waveform on a polygraph, spiking up and down, which I think is a good visual representation of an engaging plot. You know, this happens, but then this happens, but then this happens. And I think the key is to learn how to make those spikes as large, distant, and frequent as possible without breaking the audience's immersion in the story. Because if the spikes are too frequent, the spikes in the waveform, I mean, then everything might come off completely far-fetched. Excuse me, and the audience's interest is lost. Action and appropriate consequence is what keeps viewers engaged, and when I can't quite achieve not making things seem far-fetched, that's where the comedy comes in to help people along with it and still make the story enjoyable to watch. A little manipulative, perhaps, but as long as the episodes are fun to watch, I think I've done a decent job. This episode has a couple of my favorite moments in the entire series, one of which being Arbiter's sudden entrance into Zealot, where he kills Kylie's bodyguards in one fell swoop. Another rule of thumb I've learned to adopt over the years I've been doing this job is to get out early. What I mean by that is refusing to hold too long on any cool moment or funny gag, and handle parts like that as quickly and genuinely as possible. I think there's a hidden language in doing things like that, like holding too long on stuff. For example, if immediately following Arbiter's entrance, he were to stop for a moment and deliver some cool line. It's like saying to the audience, you know, this is a cool moment. Be surprised. You should be surprised right now and think this is cool. But Arbiter doesn't do that. Instead, he doesn't stop moving and immediately switches weapons and starts shooting the next guy without saying a word. I think it simultaneously doesn't draw attention to itself, while in another sense drawing much more attention to itself. And both are positive, if that makes sense. It's a win-win situation. Another moment I liked about this episode was the look Chief gives to the corpse of Kylie's avatar before he runs off after Arbiter. It non-verbally communicates that he's probably feeling a little regretful of banning a girl he met online who expressed interest in him, even if she was lying through her teeth. And it also counterbalances the fact that he's such a ludicrously offensive pig nearly all of the time, which redeems him just enough to keep the audience mostly on his side. Though I believe I'm walking a very thin line with the character. Anyone who watches the Hypermale miniseries that airs alongside this might recall the Halloween episode in which I spend pretty much the entire duration joking about dick cancer. And to be honest, after I had made and submitted that one, I thought about it and I realized, Jesus, this is fucking offensive. I probably shouldn't have put this one out. But everyone took it in stride and realized it was only in the spirit of fun. And I think I at least had the Arbiter provide a loud enough voice of reason in the episode to take the poison out of that dialogue. Which pretty much sums up the entire show, I think. Another one of my favorite moments of the series is Clyde's surprise sudden death at the hands of the toys. Going by the comments, people really had mixed feelings about this sequence, but I still stand by it and think it's cool, because the alternative would have been giving Clyde a more drawn-out theatrical death, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but I had literally just done that with Kylie in the preceding sequence. So I figured it would be awesome if I played against the audience's expectations and gave the season's big bad villain a very quick, sudden, and almost Sopranos-like death, followed by nothing but prolonged silence. Especially since it immediately follows him verbally bashing the shit out of Kylie over Skype and like boasting how he's gonna take on the toys himself and stuff. And you expect the next scene to be him chasing the toys down, but then bang, he's down. And I made a point of keeping the camera work subtle for the sequence. Like there's no panning, zooming, or handheld shake to heighten the tension. The camera sits at various fixed angles, which I think in itself heightens the tension much more so. I apologize for the finale being delayed, and the lack of blog updates. I know I'm always apologizing for this stuff, but I don't know, I just don't have any time to myself anymore since I've started film school. And, you know, I thought the first term was bad, but, you know, the second term is looking to be worse. You know, the projects are larger, film shoots are longer, the crews are larger, and thus there's more fucking drama bullshit to deal with among the students. I haven't touched a game besides Halo for work purposes since the Christmas break. I'm dying to finish Dark Souls, which I'm probably like halfway through. I'm at like the New Londo Ruins, around there. And yeah, I'm dying to finish it. It's such a good game. And I don't know, all I feel like doing when I come home from school nowadays is just falling into bed. My body just craves sleep all the time. But I am really enjoying film school, There's lots of cool people there. I've made a lot of good friends. And there's a few idiots too. There's always a few somewhere who know all the technical aspects of filmmaking, and they can name all the fucking model numbers of all the cameras, and you know, and like to use all the little abbreviations like DSLR and fucking, you know, all that kind of stuff. But they don't necessarily know much regarding composition and storytelling and stuff. The stuff that actually matters. I mean, no one gives a shit in reality like how good of a camera you have if you don't know how to position it and move it. Because like, you can achieve something that's incredible to watch with a shitty camcorder potentially if you know how to move the camera, position it, and cut the footage. You know, the quality of the camera doesn't make the quality of the film that you're making.
And leaves it up to me. I should have expected as much enlisting the help of a goddamn girl. What the fuck was I thinking? Christ almighty, all of you have been fucking worthless.
I'm really enjoying my classes, particularly my screenwriting class during the first term. I really like that one. There's a few things I found annoying about it though. I really like my teacher, but he didn't like the story ideas that I had. And here's a fun fact, you know, for anybody who, you know, who likes writing but is sort of discouraged in themselves and doesn't feel confident in their abilities. Like, I've been screenwriting for 9 years now, and I got a 65% grade for my final 5-page script assignment that I handed in last term. And, which is a pitiful mark for me. And the teacher said it was far too bloody and violent. And luckily I've been writing long enough that I understand not to take one person's opinion of my work personally. You know, that lots of people will tell you that you're doing it wrong and stuff, but the fact is that film is a subjective medium. Something that's hated by one person will be loved by another, probably. Just write what excites you and fuck everybody else, really. My 5-page script, which was my final assignment of the class, was about a guy in the middle of a zombie apocalypse who decks himself out with like a bunch of SWAT combat gear and weapons and busts into an abandoned high school to save his girlfriend from a couple of psychotic meth heads who are about to rape and kill her. And it was filled with swearing, blood, neck snapping, and zombie heads exploding. It was ridiculous. And I had to... It was funny. I had to stand up in front of the class and pitch my idea before I wrote it. And I think the class liked my idea, but my teacher didn't. He kept suggesting alternative ideas for my story. Like, he strangely suggested that why not give the zombie apocalypse aspect of the story more significance and make all the characters zombies and just make it a movie about zombies interacting with each other. And then he suggested the idea that all the zombies should be gay, and that he had a student write a script about a gay zombie before. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Gay zombies? Is he kidding me? Like, I was going for a completely different tone, like a sort of a serious drama, and he's sort of turning it into this quirky comedy about gay fucking zombies. And, you know, I replied that the zombie apocalypse was only intended as a backdrop, and the real conflict was between the human survivors, which I believed was infinitely more interesting. And plus, you can't go wrong with zombies, right? And I don't know. He didn't express much, you know, interest in my idea, but I didn't care. I didn't adjust my pitch. I wrote the story I wanted to write anyway, and I got a bad mark, but who fucking cares? So yeah, moral of the story, write what you want to write. You know, because I got a bad mark in that class, but I've been more or less successful with my job. As I was saying before, I apologize for the delay of the finale, but it is in progress. It's on the way to completion. I'm still working on the script, which is about 25 pages at this point. It'll probably be the same length, roughly the same length as Severance, which was 35 pages once it was done. I'm trying my best. Like, I realized at the end of this episode, Severance, that, like, especially at this point here, where Arbiter finally confronts Trent, that there's a lot of sort of threads hanging and, like, things that don't make a lot of sense. Like, there's a lot of holes. And in the finale, I'm planning to tie up as many loose ends as I can. Like, I'm trying to be really careful about it. So I need the extra time to work on the script, clean it up, make sure it's the best that I can get it. Man, I after all the episodes that have released so far, I don't want to suddenly half-ass the finale. So, don't worry, it's on its way. I'm gonna really try and get it out the week after this. I think I'll be able to pull it off. If not, I'll say something on my blog when I can, but I think I'll have enough time. So, yeah, you know, I appreciate you guys being so patient with me about, you know, the release of episodes, and I appreciate that people haven't been too sore about the fact that I'm sort of attending film school and thus, you know, not being able to pay as much attention to the show now that I have other responsibilities to attend to. You know, going to school is really important to me because I want to feel like I'm on the road to something bigger, as opposed to just being such a sad fucking loser at home, just, you know, working on nothing but this show all the time. And, yeah, I appreciate all your patience, and I really hope you guys enjoy the finale when it's done. And, I don't know what's ahead exactly yet, but, you know, I'll try and make it awesome, whatever it is. I do have a few ideas kicking around. And, yeah, thanks a lot for listening. I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys another time. Thanks.